She had everything I always liked, and we officially started dating shortly after. She only had one problem: she insisted that I marry her soon. She wouldn't let me publicly acknowledge our relationship, kiss, or hold hands, demanding that we get married before all of that. I found it all very strange, but having had no previous relationships, I thought this might be common in romantic situations. By this point, I had already met her family, and they were genuinely amazing. Taking all this into account, we planned the wedding. However, 2 weeks before the wedding, I decided to surprise my fiancée with coffee at her workplace since I was in the area. When I arrived, for the first time in years, I found my father embracing and kissing my fiancée. I left the premises immediately, and when she returned home, I waited for her to sleep and checked her phone. Apparently, she had been my father's girlfriend even before meeting me, and all this time, both she and he were only interested in my inheritance money. After marrying me and getting a divorce, they planned to run away together. Now, I have a plan. I will wait until the wedding and expose her and my father on the ceremony screen, showing all the evidence. I want her to feel the same way I felt, and I don't care if her image is tarnished forever. Finally, the day of my wedding arrived, and I planned to reveal everything she had done on the ceremony screen. However, just before the wedding, I discovered through text messages that my father and my wife worked together, and my father was somewhat the spokesperson for the company, being relatively famous in his field. I decided to add something to my plan. I called my father and told him that after all these years, I wanted to reconcile with him and would love for him to attend my wedding, and he could bring some colleagues if he wished. Despite being reluctant, he eventually agreed and said he would bring some coworkers. With that done, I waited until the wedding day. I greeted my father as if nothing had happened, spoke with my fiancée normally, and when no one was looking, I talked to my friend in charge of displaying images on the screen. This was the challenging part, as I would understand if he refused to collaborate, considering he would be involved in this problem regardless and might be judged if people took my fiancé's side. But contrary to what I thought, the moment I explained my plan, he said he would help me and took the USB drive with the evidence of what she had done. The ceremony began. She seemed happy. And I could even see my father laughing from time to time when he thought I wasn't looking. However, I didn't let that affect me because I knew I would have the last laugh. When it was time to say our vows, my fiancée said something she probably found online, and I, of course, pretended to be moved. When it was my turn to speak, that's when everything started. I said I had prepared a video and asked my friend to play it. The reactions were diverse, with many people crying, many people shouting and calling my fiancée various names, many of my friends going to confront my father, who by this point was already being judged by his own colleagues, and so on. My wife tried to say it was all lies, but all the evidence was there: videos, photos, conversations. Her parents said she was not to set foot in their house ever again, and she was disowned from the will. She tried to ask for forgiveness, saying she had nowhere to go if I left her, but I didn't respond. I just left the altar and walked away. As far as I know, both my father and my ex-fiancée were fired, and the case became relatively famous in the neighborhood where my father lives, prompting him to move to a much smaller house in another state. My ex-fiancée showed up at my house a few times, saying my father didn't want to take her with him and that she only had me, but after a few encounters, I ended up getting a restraining order against her. Now, I am relatively happy. Of course, I am sad to have been deceived for so long, but I am glad that everything went relatively well.